you. You've been covering Donald Trump's criminal trial, and you've also been covering Veep stakes. And a lot of movement on that front over the weekend. He had this forum at Mar-a-Lago. We have this incredible shot of him with all his, what we presume are potential VP picks. Obviously, TimScott's there, J.D. Vance, Doug Burgum, and the list goes on and on. Vivek Ramaswamy. Where do you think things stand, and what were your takeaways from listening to TimScott?
Right. He still has a litany of names. There were two individuals who he welcomed up on stage and made direct references to being potential VP picks. That was Elise Stefanik, Congresswoman of New York, as well as Florida Senator Marco Rubio. I talked to two people in the room last night, and notably they mentioned that J.D. Vance, Ohio Senator, was welcomed up on stage and praised, but he also made reference to the fact that J.D. Vance had made past statements about him that were bad. Right. If you go back to 2016, yeah. Right, he said that he may hold his nose and vote for Hillary Clinton because he called Donald Trump an idiot. He called himself a never Trumper, which hits at the part that, 8 years may go by, but Donald Trump doesn't forget. And when we're talking about loyalty, he had Mike Pence, who was not loyal to him on January.
And just this week, he said that he won Wisconsin. Falsely, Senator. So, again, to the point, you voted to certify the election results of 2020. It's the exact opposite of what you said and did after 2020. Why would you want to be on a ticket with someone where there's such a fundamental difference?
There is clear facts here. President Trump himself said he expects this election to be fair, he expects it to be honest, and he expects to win. That's what the presidential candidate should expect, and I expect the exact same thing. And frankly, the American people agree with him. This is an issue that is not an issue, so I'm not going to make it an issue.
Well, Senator, will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
At the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump, and I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait,
and
Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president. Kristen, you could ask him multiple times.
Senator, just a yes or no answer.
So the American people will make the decision.
But I don't hear you committing
for President Trump. That's clear.
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the challenge.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democrat Party. At the end of the day, I've said what I've said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
But, Senator, as you know, the hallmark of our democracy is that both candidates agree to a peaceful transfer of power. So I'm asking you, as a potential VP nominee, will you accept to commit to the election results in this election cycle, no matter who wins? Just simply yes or no.
I expect President Trump to win the next election. Listen, I'm not going to answer your hypothetical question when, in fact, I believe the American people are speaking today on the results.
Now to the unrest on college campuses, even as graduation ceremonies take place across the country this weekend and police crackdowns nationwide. ABC's Morgan Norwood is at New York University with more. Morgan, good morning.
Hey, good morning to you. We know more demonstrations, more encampments, police cracking down on those overnight across several schools across the country. And this morning, universities and police, they are on alert as these demonstrations threaten to eclipse a defining moment for students, graduation.
This morning, those continued campus protests now spilling over into commencement season as universities struggle with how to respond to protesters insisting they drop all ties to Israel over the war in Gaza. Some colleges, including the Art Institute of Chicago, calling on law enforcement to regain control. The scene after pro-Palestinian demonstrators tried to set up an encampment. Protesters barricaded and locked the gates to fortify their position, facing off with Chicago police for hours. At least 68 demonstrators arrested. At the University of Virginia, close to 40 officers in riot gear moving in to clear an encampment, taking down tents and escorting protesters out in zip ties. At least 25 people arrested. Shut it down! Shut it down! The University of Michigan's graduation interrupted by pro-Palestinian protesters chanting and waving Palestinian flags.
Let's go! Bye-bye!
The group then marching down the aisles. This banner flown overhead reading, "Divest from Israel now, free Palestine." No arrests were made, and the ceremony continued. At the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, demonstrators still maintaining their encampment despite graduation festivities.
I want to talk to you about another critical issue in your state, the issue of immigration. The number of illegal border crossings dropped since their record high in December. As a senator of a border state, do you still believe that the situation at the border is a crisis, as you have said in the past, as President Biden has said in the past?
It's been a crisis for most of the time that I've been in the Senate.
And it's still a crisis.
Yeah, and we have the opportunity to fix it. And it's the most frustrating thing I have dealt with while I've been in office, probably in my entire adult life, since I graduated from the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy, at work, what happened on that border security bill. We had an agreement. This was negotiated over, a long period of time. Democrats and Republicans and the administration working together, including the Secretary of Homeland Security, on something that was going to provide more Border Patrol agents, more CBP officers, more machines to detect fentanyl, the money to build facilities to be able to hold more migrants so you could adjudicate, their claims. And if they didn't meet, the appropriate level to receive asylum, they could be, sent back to, their country or sent back to, Mexico if they cross the border.
Let's talk about the protests, which, of course, we've seen on college campuses across the country. We know that the Democratic National Committee is concerned about that. In fact, we have new reporting that they're making preparations for this summer's convention to prepare for protesters. But politically speaking, Vaughn, how do you think this plays?
Right, we've got 3 months until the convention here at this point. Joe Biden is going to be speaking at a Holocaust memorial service this next week, talking about anti-Semitism in the country. And this is where, when we talk about hate speech and the line and what the protests are, we're talking about a fine line being drawn, and Joe Biden being a steady hand through the chaos, yet at the same time, legitimate concerns, thousands of civilians being killed, famine. We're also talking about, for Joe Biden as the president here, you're talking about